What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Lee Hartley Podcast. Today, co-hosting with me, as mentioned before, is Bonnie Hartley. Say hey, Bonnie.
Hello.
Boss lady.
And today, we've got Jason Redman here with us. Jason is an author. He is a military vet, Air Force, correct?
Yep, that's right.
You were ex-SWAT team member.
Yep, SWAT team.
Let's see. You are a blacksmith.
I do part-time blacksmithing.
Part-time blacksmithing.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, now you are one of the leading professionals for lending. Residential, commercial, a little bit of everything, right?
Yep, a little bit of everything, mainly residential. So
Okay.
for the last 21 years, been doing mortgage lending in the area, all over the Southeast, really, but mainly out of Augusta.
Gotcha.
What states do you cover again?
Pretty much everything in the Southeast, from
Okay.
Virginia to Florida.
Okay.
So
Gotcha. So, how long have you been in this area?
born and raised in Augusta.
Okay.
Grew up on the south side of Augusta, kind of farm on the weekends, grew up in the country. Of course, I'm older than you guys are, so, we didn't have a lot of the luxury back then. So
That didn't have smartphones and stuff like that.
barely had a house phone. So
Hey, come on now. I remember dial-up internet and the transition from not having any to, the first computers where you watched a photo download line by line.
Yeah.
So,
We had pagers.
Pagers.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was,
remember the pager days. And I still say to this day, the Nokia was the best phone ever.
I
Back
was
once cell phones were really becoming a thing.
already in business by the time pagers came about. So when we were growing up,
Jason,
if somebody in your family was on the phone, you didn't talk to anybody. So
you probably had a bag phone too.
that's how it worked. My first phone was a bag phone. Put your seatbelt around it.
Okay,
so.
he is older.
Yeah, definitely older.
So, when did you go into the military?
Went in the military kind of during college, just trying to struggle and make my way through. A family supported me a bunch, but they were like, if you want to go to college, figure it out. So joined the Air Force kind of in the middle of college to kind of get through that, use the GI Bill, get the benefits. Really loved that part of it. I always wanted to be, police officer, fireman, military, something along that lines growing up. So that's kind of always been in my blood. And so I was like, well, shoot, I could maybe do both, pay for college, get a degree, and serve my country at the same time. So did that in the Air Force and really loved that time. Stayed in the reserves and everything until 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got out a month before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was doing mortgages during the week, and then one weekend a month I was mortgages and driving to do military duty.
Right.
Then my entire unit was sent to Afghanistan for 2 years. So you look back and you think, gosh, the influence of things and decisions you make, the lasting impact they have. Everybody that was, friends of mine and things I was doing, they were gone. The course of their lives were changed.
Right.
In Afghanistan for 2 years, and I was here doing mortgages. So interesting how things happen.
Well,
Yeah.
and just the timing of it. You're sitting there looking at them leaving and everything, the people that you've served with and been with, and now you're transitioning into something else. And it's like, how different could have life been if, you hadn't have made a decision to go in the direction you went in?
It was the craziest month in my life.
Right.
My paperwork was processed out, but wasn't finalized. And then so they got, 2 weeks after I turned it in, 9/11 happened. And then everybody in the unit calls me. It's like, we're leaving. Where are we going? Can't tell you. And I was like, okay. And so I sat by the phone for a month. No one ever called. I called the unit and I was like, am I going? Am I staying? I'm brand new into mortgages. I'm starting up a business. I'm working 15, 16, 18 hours a day. And then they just left. I never got the call. Nerve-wracking. That's a long month.
Yeah.
And when you're in the reserves, you have a family and a regular life. So
Right.
your military service is kind of not full-time. So
Right.
it was a big deal.
And
Long month.
you're thinking that, okay, this is my weekend commitment here and there,
Right.
but it could instantly turn and,
That's right.
go who knows where.
Exactly right. And it did for a lot of people. So
At what point were you part of the SWAT team?
So when I graduated college and, got out of that initial military part, joined the Columbia County, the sheriff's office there in the early 90s. Then, moved my way up through road patrol and then crime suppression team, then firearms instructor, and then SWAT level 1 and SWAT level 2, SWAT level 3. And so then I did K9 and started the drug interdiction unit here in Augusta. So working interstates and kind of working drug enforcement and things like that.
And all of this was before mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long before mortgages were you doing that?
Gosh, this is all through the 90s.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I got out of police work in right at 2000, January of 2000.
Gotcha.
Late 99, and so got into mortgages just after that. So,
Okay.
Had an interesting time doing that. Don't regret any of it. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Tough on a family,
What's the craziest thing that you ever experienced with that you can talk about?
Oh, there's so many crazy
I'm sure
stories.
there's plenty of stories.
Every day was crazy. It was very interesting how there's just, the old saying is, 99% of the time is sheer boredom and 1% is pure terror. So,
Isn't that similar to like what you do now?
it's definitely a different perspective. People, I think people in business get stressed out, and their definition of what a high stress job is, customers are upset or employees are, or they have some anxiety about, numbers or a contract or things like that. And I think the perspective was different. High stress then was, you could die
Yes.
right now, and someone else could. Your
Right.
actions could kill you, kill someone else, cause your whole team to,
Right.
something tragic. Could always happen. You're at the forefront of protecting people from other people, from incidents, from evil, and that's your job. So,
And it can change at the drop of a hat, just
yeah, it
instantly.
can change. Literally, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't ever know what someone else has planned in their mind or what they, what their thoughts are. And so it was tons of that happening.
So what was the determining factor for you to kind of get away from all of that?
It was kind of a few things that led up to it. One of my good friends that had taught me a lot that I had worked some drug interdiction with was shot and killed on a traffic stop on I-20. I worked I-20. He was on the other side of Atlanta. So we would coordinate some days when we were working. I would work one side of the interstate, and he, if someone drove through Augusta, 2 hours later, after I, may have seen them or encountered them, he would. So we were working the same stretch. He was shot and killed on a traffic stop, for no reason. And then, a few things happen where I'm, you may get a big drug seizure, and then it drags on for months and months and months, and they eventually go to court, and they just may get off.
Yeah. Slap
for
on
no
the wrist
reason.
or nothing
Or nothing at all.
on a technicality of some sort.
And then you think to yourself, gosh, I've missed every Christmas, every birthday. I've missed everything, every kid's event. And then you start to question, at some point, what are your priorities? Family man, raise your kids, and then seeing friends shot and, killed. And, he had a son that was the same age as my son.
Right.
And so you got to make decisions. It's hard.
Yeah, this is someone that you work day in and day out, communicating with and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
your families know each other, I'm assuming, to an extent.
Yeah, they kind of
you know.
did. He was more in Atlanta. I would drive up there and, bring dogs up. He would bring a dog down. And we would meet in the middle. But, somebody I really considered a friend and mentor. And then this area started to, come up pretty seriously with, drug activity and interstate activity. What I was doing was successful, which sounds great. But when you're successful in seizing, a trunk full of money and narcotics, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Not good at all, because word travels really fast.
Right.
So I think just the danger aspect, and I'm not trying to be mysterious about it. It was just dangerous. It is. Working drugs,
I can imagine.
working
there's-
drugs on the street is not, is not like just, writing stop sign tickets in a school zone.
It's not something you clock out from and just forget about until the next day.
Right. And it got more and more dangerous and more. I was really lucky, fortunate. I give thanks that God kept me safe. But, eventually the decisions you make are going to put you in situations where, you may not be. So it really just came to a head with, time and family. You got to figure out. You go to your friend's funeral. It had a pretty significant impact. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, there's nothing else I can do, So, yeah, it was one of the tough things to decide because it's all I had geared towards: military training as a police officer and, combat skill and this and ground.
It was a complete
training,
lifestyle.
and that is all I knew.
So who ended up how did you get introduced to the mortgage industry? Like,
Yeah, that was interesting. So, had a crazy traffic stop one night that turned out to be a dangerous situation that could have been, catastrophic. I mean, and I didn't realize the danger I was in until I went back and looked at the video, and it's almost like God said, this is your final reminder.
Like you only get so many of these.
Yeah, of what could happen, and I just decided I'm out. I can't do it anymore. And so I didn't even own a car at the time. I mean, I had no money for anything. So I literally just walked into a car dealership with no job. I just quit.
wow.
Walked into a car dealership and said, I need a job.
So
And,
you went to sell cars from.
Yeah,
that's
that's
where you
all
were
I
going?
knew.
Yeah.
Right.
I knew a guy that was a police officer, and he went and sold cars, and he said, you can survive and make a living. And the guy said, when are you looking? I said, sir, I only own one dress shirt and one tie, and I'm wearing it, so I can start today. And he was mesmerized. But I got a chance to do that. I was immediately good at it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to be a car salesman. Nothing wrong with that. People work hard, they make a good living. It was just a really hard shift for me for being, someone recognized as, police officer of the year, things like that. And doing a lot of training, working with drug dogs, and to selling cars was just a hard culture, personality shift for me.
Well, I can imagine it's just like you said culture, just an overall culture shock. You go from, walking up on these traffic stops and big bus and everything, and now you're walking a car lot looking for, hey, you want 2 doors or 4 doors?
Right.
Just kind of going in that direction. That's like a complete shift from everything.
I'm just picturing how he went from being surrounded by a bunch of men that were in shape to working at a car.
At a car dealership.
That's true. That was the hard part.
Where
Yeah.
the mindset is like work out every day, be prepared for
Right.
crisis and that kind of thing, like to defend yourself, and then you're
So,
Dealership.
with that being said, did you ever have moments when you first got into selling cars and people would show up and they'd get out of their car and you're instantly casing them for like what they have in the car?
All the time. I still do to this day.
Right. That's probably something that'll never go away.
It's things that you learn that get ingrained in you, and it's not, something you kind of want to do, but, for your safety, you watch everyone's hands, or you could be
Hold on,
killed.
let me see
Yeah.
what I got up under
right.
here.
So, people could always, if someone's hands are on this table, the most they could do to hurt you is, with their hands.
Yeah.
If someone reaches down like this, you don't know what could happen. And so when you learn that that's your survival, and then you choose another career, you don't just, it doesn't just go away.
Right. You're looking for whatever covers around you. Where am I going to slip to if they
To
do
this
something?
day, if I'm, somewhere or at a gas station and, I'm talking to somebody and they reach underneath their front seat to grab their phone, like, oh, they're reaching underneath their, you don't know. You just,
Right.
I mean, I know nothing's going to happen, but my brain doesn't always agree.
Or you like to believe nothing's going to happen anyway.
Right. So I think back and I imagine I was probably somebody completely crazy looking to work with, come off of that.
Right.
Come out of college, out of the military, only job, and then now you're in regular civilian world, like turn all that stuff off. I imagine it was
Scary for people.
I imagine they probably thought I was a lunatic. I happen to be good at it, I think, because I think my theory is I wasn't trying to sell anybody anything. Mm-hmm. I wanted to give you, I didn't have a way to do something that wasn't brutally true.
Yes.
If you're looking for this is, I see these as your options.
Right.
And I don't, I joke that I'm not smart enough to make it really complicated because I'm not. I see things very, very clearly. And so I'm not trying to, deceive anybody. I just tell you
the facts,
the hard facts.
It's like, this is based off of what you're telling me, these are the things that are going to fit your needs. What color do you like?
Yeah.
That's
and
how he is now.
Yeah.
And still to this day, people say, well, I want a $500,000 house on 3 acres of land with a pond and a 4-car garage. And I'm really looking for a $1,500 payment with no money down.
Yeah.
And so I go, well, that is possible.
Right.
You probably could find that.
But these are
probably
the facts.
not in Augusta.
Right.
I
I mean, I saw a video yesterday of this home in Texas. It was some town in Texas I'd never heard of. And it's literally, it looks like something that would be in Vegas or somewhere. It's a big squared off stucco and kind of block house. Amazing looking. 20-foot ceilings in the living room and dining area and all of that, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's $385,000. So I got looking at this town. I was like, well, man, I guess I'm moving.
Not bad.
I look, and it's literally 3 miles from the Rio Grande to the Mexico border. And I'm like,
And the population is like 102.
no, believe it or not, there were 7,000 people there.
You check.
Literally, the
village.
population of this town was 7,000. And I was like, okay, there's a $300,000 house that looks like a mansion somewhere else that would, if it was in Vegas or somewhere, would sell for $2 million easily.
Wow. That is a mansion there.
So what he's saying is your statement is true when you say you can find that somewhere
Yeah, you can
else.
find it.
So still to this day, I feel like I don't try to sell anybody anything.
Yeah.
And I think people can just tell, I think a lot of people can tell if somebody's, what their intentions are, if they're telling you the truth, if they're trying to help you, if they're trying to sell you on something. I never wanted to be that person.
So how long were you in car sales?
A year.
Yeah?
Yeah. just
Banged
a
it
year.
out for a year?
Yeah, banged it out for a year. Sold a Jeep to a mortgage processor in Augusta.
Oh,
And
see,
then
I'm
she told-
hearing now. Yeah.
And then she told her loan officer, who's a great friend of mine, Frank, to this day. He just literally, it has to be a God thing. Nobody else is in control of your life like this. And he showed up.
God
and
in a Jeep.
Yeah. He showed up and said, you sold one of my girls a car. And I was like, oh, what are you interested in? He's like, can I take you to lunch? She said you were amazing. And I was like, you drove over, and I'm, going back to my cop
Right.
mind.
It's like, wait, you came over
You
here?
drove over here to take me to lunch because she said I was great.
And you
He
want
said,
me-
I know it sounds crazy.
Did he want you to get in his car, or by then did you have your own car?
Got in his car. I drove one of the dealership's cars.
Yeah.
I bought my first, new car when I left the car business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ordered it straight from the factory. Like $14,000. I mean, you couldn't tell me anything. $14,000 car.
And that was what year?
2001.
01?
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of money for a car.
But hey, got everything on it.
So did you say yes to him that day when
Yeah.
he took you to lunch?
Immediately?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Did he bring a ring?
You should have. You should have. And I got in the mortgage business just like that. Talked to them, and they were offering me kind of a, to be maybe a trainee type position, kind of a junior loan officer, kind of mentor program. And then I talked to one of the local banks, and she said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I'm kind of looking for something that'll pay me what I'm worth. And she said, well, that sounds kind of, and I said, no. What I mean is, like when I was a police officer, if I worked 90 hours a week and never went home, slept in my car, I would make $2,000 a month. The people that worked, serving papers, worked 6 hours a day and were home every night, they made $2,000 a month. I want to be in a position to where if I outwork everybody, I do better. And if I'm lazy and I don't work at all, I want it to be reflected in a scale, like the people that put the most in get the most out. And then I'll figure out where I fall in that scale, but I can change and control that.
Right.
Instead of, I just work. The result is the same, regardless of how much heart, leave blood on the street. You get the same check as the people that are doing less.
So going into car sales, that was kind of the eye-opening thing for you, because that was the first time, it's commission-based, but there's no cap on it. Because, it's just, it can go as high as you want it to, and the more hours and time you put in, the more rewarding it is.
Yeah,
So.
the first day I came in at 6, and
First one there.
I looked at when they opened, and it said 6 o'clock. That was the service department. So I hung up with the mechanics, and I was just like,
Let me know every moving part.
Yeah, he's like, when do people actually show up?
yeah. And he said, like 9. I was like, well, what does everyone do till, honest question, what does everyone do till 9 every day? They get up. I get up at like 4.
Yeah.
Back then, I'm older now, so.
Now 4:15.
And I was like, what does everyone do till 9? So, yeah, I would just talk to people like that, get to know everyone. So anyway, going back, I said, I'm looking for something that kind of, and I'll find my way in that, in that opportunity in sales. And I didn't know what it looked like. I had no idea. But I said, I kind of want to do that because I wanted to be responsible for the outcome. Same as your job. You don't have to come to work at all today. You don't have to. This studio is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The camera set up, the entire.
It's been a long work in progress, and it's something that I've been piecing all this stuff together for past couple of years now, and we finally have a space now to where it can all come together, and we can, enjoy it and do things like this.
And so, in that scale of what you do, same as you could just stay home. Y'all could just eat lunch and hang out and not put this amount of effort into things, and then you would get that amount back.
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know the details of what that was, but I found an industry that real estate, mortgages, and lending is a great opportunity to do that.
So that conversation with her when you moving from that point when she's like, well, that's kind of bold, or
yeah, and then I told her that, and she said, well, that makes sense. She said, I don't. Someone with your background, I don't really see them succeeding in it. I'm just going to be honest. I'm shoot you straight. But I'll give you a desk and a phone and a computer, and you can make a run at it.
And that's all you needed.
And I said, sounds great.
and watch this shit.
Yeah. And she said, and so I was closing on a new house like 2 weeks later. And so I bought a new house and started a 100% commission job on the same, within a day. I closed on my house on Thursday. And started
that's
work
right.
on
You
Friday.
could easily get lones back then for a
because
mortgage.
it was-
It just,
That's right.
I make
It
this
was-
kind of money.
What
That's
year
right.
was that? again?
It's prior to
that you're talking about?
2001.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
This
yeah.
was leading up to the whole debacle of 2008.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. And so I didn't know anything about business, and she was a great mentor. And she came to me and said, well, I need you to, about a month in, I need you to write your goals down. And I said, oh, okay. And I went down to my office and I got like a little Post-it note. I didn't know. And I said, well, who's the number one loan officer in the company? And she said his name. And I started in May, and so this was in September. So now that you know how the computer works and all that, and I said, whoa, and she's, I need your goal, like for the next year. I said, okay, who's the name? She told me the name, and I was like, beat that guy.
Okay.
And I just handed it to her, and she's like, yeah, but I was thinking like you would draw out like a business plan, and this is how you set goals, and she went through the whole thing.
That's not how my brain works.
And then I said, well, all of that I'm going to take.
All right,
all
whatever
that.
it takes to get to this one
Yeah.
point that I wrote down,
Yeah.
everything. It's all inclusive here.
So when she hired me, I came the first day, and they gave me a key to the bank.
Oh, that's where they messed up.
Well,
They gave you a key to the bank. It was all over.
Yeah. So, and I said, oh, I think everybody that worked with me thought I was crazy. So I said, what are the hours? And she's like, well, you have a key. You turn the alarm off. You come in. I said, do I have to wait till y'all are here? They're like, no, you're fine.
I already like this more than the dealership.
Yeah. So I went in. I don't know. It was maybe like 4 something, 4:30. And I didn't know
Cleaning
the bank,
crew's still there.
Oh, they're long gone. So I didn't know the bank had a hard alarm system, like that regardless of anything. And I don't know. I'm not telling you what bank secrets. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
That one you can't
But
turn
at some
off at a
point
certain.
between like whatever point at night, 10 o'clock, and 6 or 7 in the morning, regardless of how you get in, it's sending an alarm to the cops. So I go in, and then I knew the procedure from a year ago when I would go to bank alarms, which bank alarms always go off between 8:15 and 9 because the bank's open at 9, always. When the bank alarm goes off at 4:45 in the morning, and
Everyone's
they pull up,
responding.
and there's a car, because I would back into my parking space, and there's a car backed up to the door.
Oh, yeah. That's a getaway car instantly.
And I mean, who would work at 4:30 in
So
the morning
I
at a
saw
bank?
them. I saw the headlights and everything pull up, and so and I'm like, Patrick. And he's like, Redman, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like,
He's like, I knew you went into a different line of work, but I didn't know you were robbing banks now.
And then a Mercedes pulls up, and a lady gets out, ball cap, like she'd been woken up. That was my boss. And
First day.
I was like, she's like, what in the world? Why is there police officers here? What they call you? And I was like, you said I could come in anytime. She said, I didn't mean 5 in the morning.
Well, technically it was 4:45.
And so she thought I was crazy. But yeah, fast forward that October of the next year, which was 13 months later, I was ranked number 1 in the company.
So that guy that you wrote down on the little Post-it note, is he still in the business today?
He is. He's
Okay, so we won't talk about who that is. But
he's in South Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
for
all
the
right.
whole company. I said, who's number 1 in the company? There was maybe 200 loan officers.
In your first year in, you're like,
He was in Miami in
he's got to go.
the early 2000s. So, they're killing it.
And you're in Miami's a market that's, the median
Miami.
price is 3 times, 4 times what we are here.
Any year. In any year, in any market.
No matter
yeah.
what, yeah.
And people were like, Augusta, Georgia? What is
Oh,
Augusta,
wait, what?
Georgia?
You
'Cause
would
I-
have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to accomplish that.
Yeah.
But the good news is, again, my perspective was way different, and it still is to this day. I got to work. Maybe the hours were 5 to 10, but I only worked 5 days a week.
Right.
and all on the weekends I was at home and I could just answer the phone. So
but you put as much as you could in during those 5 days.
Instead of working 6 days and trying to sleep a half a day on Sunday, I only worked 5 days, and I was home all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
Yeah.
And for me, that had never happened.
So what were you doing on your weekends?
Answering phone calls and calling people
still
back.
working.
Yeah.
Still
didn't have
working.
to, but I'm home. I'm out in the yard with the kids and
Right.
doing all kinds of things, and started to realize, there's an entire other life. I mean, now Kate and I are in the business together, so still work weekends, but we're in the same business. So she's in one room and I'm in the other room. So
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
That's probably the same way you guys work, because I've seen you do it. Someone will call on my phone, and if I'm doing something or driving or I can't,
Pass it off.
So I've seen you guys do it when you're doing something.
Oh, I'm the king of passing off at this point. I'm like, oh, yeah, let me work on that. Hold on 1 second. Hey, Bonnie. And I'll hand her the phone.
A lot of times. Right beside you.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll look down and my phone's ringing and I'm like, I'm driving right now. I can't do that. And I'll just get her to answer the phone.
That's pretty lucky.
But
Yeah.
we both have different gifts.
Right. And
So
she's the one that,
Go
she's
ahead.
the one that has the emotional side of things covered, and the loving and the heart and everything else like
Nurturing.
that. The very nurturing.
Moving parts, dealing with those who are OCD, high anxiety, analytical, that kind of thing, and which you can deal with them just fine. But sometimes he doesn't know how to as easily navigate it. So it's just typically a easier process
for me,
to help navigate through it.
Right. For me, I'm more driven by like the facts that are in front of me, the numbers for whatever it is that we're looking at, the details of what it's going to take to make it happen, and that's it. That's me.
That's all there is.
And
You're a man.
Exactly. I mean, she can handle the everything else in between when it comes down to any emotional needs that need to be met when it comes to the processes. I mean,
Because that just comes along with being human, and if I can help reduce anxiety, it makes it easier on all of us.
yeah, for sure.
I think most of y'all's job, from my perspective, seems to be removing or minimizing anxiety.
Yes,
That's pretty much all it is.
Buying a house is a pretty emotional process.
it can
Buying
be very.
anything.
Yeah. I mean, when we're dealing with someone that's buying a house, for 99% of the people in the world, the home that they're buying is going to be the largest investment they ever make. So for that reason, it's extremely emotional. And
Well, that was before Bitcoin came.
before
Now-
Bitcoin,
Now
now,
Bitcoin, depending
Yeah.
on the month, it's your largest.
yeah, I mean, crypto altogether, I could talk about that
I'll
for a
get you
while,
started.
but yeah.
And it's not like HGTV. A lot of times there are other death, divorce, depression, moving parts, deployment. There's so many things. They're most
That was all
commonly.
D's too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're going through a lot more underneath the
Sorry.
process.
I
My
almost,
brain.
anyway.
Okay, so,
Death,
but yeah,
deployment, depression.
Yeah.
Okay.
divorce.
You really are
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
it's kind of
psychologist.
it's kind of funny because what she was just talking about made me think about we had a buyer one time we were working with, and it was the funniest thing. The day we met them, we hit it off. We ended up representing them, helping them buy a house and everything. But the very day we met them, we go out and we had scheduled to show them 3 homes.
Oh.
They've
that
been
was-
watching Flip or Flop and all these shows that had been on TV for years. We go show them these 3 homes, and we're talking and taking notes and everything. We get to the 3rd home.
I thought they were kidding.
They turn and look at Bonnie, and they're like, okay, we're going to, can we just have a few minutes? We're going to step outside and kind of discuss. They
walked.
literally
We're
thought,
following the format of the show.
Yes.
following the format of the show, I looked at 3 homes. Now we have to go out here and decide.
Down to the part where they walked just a few yards away, turned their backs to us. I'm like,
We need to talk
Lee,
about
is
this
this really
privately.
happening?
Right.
And they turn their backs and they're like, well, this was the pro of this one, the con of this one. okay.
She
And then they turned back around and walked towards us. I thought it was a joke.
She
I busted
cracked
out
up.
laughing. I was like, wait. They were like, well, we think we're going to rank this one as 1, this one 2, this one 3. I think we'll go with 1. And I was like, it was a long pause. I was trying, oh, this is not a joke. Oh, okay. You know that we can view other homes, right? And they were shocked. I mean, they literally thought that they were going to have to make a decision.
Wow.
So, and it just goes to show how much those TV shows ruin.
I didn't think anybody actually believed that. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, if it's on TV or on the internet, it's true.
There's so many shows on home buying right now.
Oh, yeah.
Home flipping. I thought it was Housewives, but now it's,
now it's a mix
of Atlanta. And
right. It's a mix of the both. So you got the Housewives mixed with real estate now. So like Selling Sunset, all these shows, it's like drama and real estate. It's 80% drama and 20% real estate. But I guess they figured
that's
out
about right.
Yeah. It is about
the
right.
mix.
Yeah.
And the renovation where they do it in 12 hours.
Yeah. Did you see that? There's a new show.
It's wreck somebody's.
They literally do
an
an entire flip on a house in 12 hours. So these people leave and come back, but what they don't show is the 300 people and the 3 months of planning that led up to the project they're going to do the next day.
But there are people that are going to believe that they can go in 12 hours. Anyways. Yeah.
Buy the house on a Monday, flip it on Tuesday, and sell it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then it be approved for FHA financing and everything else,
All
right?
day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
That's how that works.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I have a curious question. After all of your background in law enforcement, SWAT, military, that kind of thing, do you find that you may handle circumstances in a stressful field of work? I mean, you're in mortgages, lending. It's just like real estate is far more stressful, far more demanding than most people can imagine. Do you think you're able to keep like a better handle on like perspective and that kind of thing when other people are seeing it as the end of the world? You know the difference between a real life end of the world, I could die right now, they could die right now, versus this is a house, this is a mortgage, everything's going to...
Right. I think the perspective that we talked about earlier has been maybe one of my strengths in business. People would beat me in, if you saw me in the, corner office at the bank or the finance company or the mortgage company, and you think, oh, well, you're wearing a suit and, you don't understand people's struggles or what stress people go through, and have no idea my background. But it's given me a perspective to know what real stress is like, what real work stress and life stress is like.
Yeah.
Leaving the house in the morning and friends of mine that didn't get home.
Yeah.
And so...
And you had just... Sometimes you want to point those things out to people, but then you don't want to come off as insensitive or anything like that.
And then people go, oh, well, you think, you're exempt from stress. And I'm not. I'm certainly not.
Right.
But I think it's replaced by an intense need, which I think is probably one of the things that got me into, military and police work. An intense need and desire to serve people, like an overwhelming desire. And so it does give me a little bit of an advantage with my perspective staying that this is not a stressful situation. Your home loan is stressful to them. Mm-hmm. Buying is an emotional process. Buying anything is emotional, especially buying your first home. So we talk a lot. I ask people how they feel a lot and let them share. I can't take what stresses me out and impose that on what stresses someone else out.
Sure.
So it gives me an advantage on the lending side and on the sales side. But I don't, like you said, I don't tell people how this is not stressful. It just doesn't stress me out.
Right.
When I go home, I I can, turn it on and turn it off because nobody's going to, not going to be in a car chase and be hurt. I'm not ending up in the hospital.
Nobody's
after my
likely to
work day.
die before you
No
wake
one's
up in
going
the
to die.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my mentors and coaches, literally, one of his favorite sayings is there's no such thing as a real estate emergency. And it's like, yes, there's things that need to be done. There's paperwork that needs to be handled. There's moving parts, but there's no such thing as an actual real estate emergency.
That's true.
And that's just one of the things that sticks with me. And I'll say it to them all the time here in the office because
Oh, I
things
feel
come-
everything is an emergency.
yeah.
Well, people's
like it's got to be done
personality,
now.
people's personality, some people, it leads to, you validating someone's stress. And when you validate their stress, you amplify it. And then if you care about them, you want to take on a piece of their stress. It makes you seem cold and callous. If you come to me and you're like, oh my God, this guy, the families, their life is over and my career is ruined, and they were a referral from a very important family member, and then and then I go, you're fine.
Right. If you
It's
don't
not
even
a big
acknowledge
deal.
it. Yeah.
Bonnie, this is really not stressful. You go, wait a minute, I feel like I'm losing my mind here.
Yeah.
So there
I'd
comes
be like, what are you talking? I'm calling somebody else,
Yeah,
Jason.
I don't want to talk to you. You're a terrible manager. So the manager and one of my passions is the management, mentor side, coaching. I do a lot of group coaching, one-on-one coaching for loan officers, new loan officers, trained a bunch of them. So one of the things is validating, concerns, but also putting them in a headspace where they can start coming up with solutions. If you have a problem,
Instead of just kind of
you
dwelling
need
in
to
that madness.
instantly think of two solutions. So
There's always a solution.
at least one.
If you treat it with enough urgency. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But I just believe
With
in
no
moving
urgency, you
really.
create another problem.
Yes, so-
Yesterday's
True.
problem is amplified if that's still the problem today.
Yes.
You got to do something quickly.
Yes.
There is a management theory out there that someone tried to teach me that says anytime anybody needs something, just wait till tomorrow.
Wait, what?
Just wait till tomorrow.
I was told, if anybody needs you, just wait, call everybody back tomorrow. And most problems will solve themselves. And I said, well, if everyone solved the problems themselves, what would they need me for? That's their theory.
Yeah.
My theory is I want to help people as fast as possible.
Right. And they may
because
figure
I-
it out, but you could give them a piece of information that helps them get through it 5 times faster
Well,
or
after
more
20
efficiently.
years, there's situations I can look at calmly and not be emotional about that you probably could figure out in an hour or two or waiting on someone. But if we could figure them out quickly, and you could get back to doing things that, are the enjoyable part of the business instead of the stressful part, minimize that time.
And I think a lot of people that get into our line of work, our side, your side, or even car sales or anything like that, they come in with a specific mindset where they're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right, and I don't need anyone's help. I'm going to prove that I'm great. But honestly, if you just reach out to most people that are like in your position where you've got 20 plus years experience, they're an open book when it comes to information that is going to make their lives so much easier. So I don't understand why some people will take the time to grind through it and try to figure it out when if they just took 2 seconds to ask a question, it's like, here's your answer, make it yours, make the process yours and adapt it. But at least this is the root way to get through it efficiently. And it's something that's been tried and tested and true. It's just like reading books or anything like that. The majority of what we learn is in a book. Someone else has done it and we learn it from that.
That's right.
So I don't understand why there's just a lot of people that won't ask for help from someone that's in the same field with more experience.
I think people's mindset is what limits them the most. I go to this person now, it may make me feel diminished or whatever, but who cares? People are around you to share wisdom, and if they're not there to help you, then, what are they there for? But I think that's what good leaders, mentors, coaches, managers are for, is to teach people, what they're capable of, and hold them accountable. And kind of judge them
to make them a better person.
not based on what someone else is doing. And I tell people, and I kind of say things that make them think. But if I coach them, I kind of judge them on what they're capable of, not what this person's doing, not what the person down the street's doing. Like, you're capable of this, and no matter what it is, you're capable of running 5 miles because I saw you. So your goal was to run 5 miles and you did 2. So now I've got to say, what happened?
Right.
You either didn't want to or you weren't able.
Yeah. And a lot of us need that accountability. I mean, I have a coach that I literally pay someone to be my boss, because even myself, I need that accountability. I'm running a brokerage, but I have to have someone hold me accountable because I can't do it myself all the time.
It's a big piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm great at it. I will give myself excuses why something didn't happen. And I'm telling you, listen, I got some good ones.
Yeah.
But I think it breaks down to people, like I said a minute ago, I oversimplify probably everything. But you either don't want to do it, or you're not capable, or you're not able. Now, people say, well, and I go, which category? Well, I'm not able. Oh, well, why not? Okay, I don't have time. And I said, no, I don't have time is an excuse. Mm-hmm. In the category of I'm not able, you have reasons and excuses. Now, a reason would be, my child fell off the swing and broke their arm and I was at the emergency room.
Right.
That's why I didn't do it. That's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
An excuse is I overslept and I didn't have time.
Right.
So when people say I don't have time,
It's like you step back and analyze what you're doing throughout the entire day.
yeah.
Because, I can't imagine Elon Musk saying I didn't have time to come up
They're
with
like,
something.
The new Netflix series on how
How do you know about that?
Yeah, okay, well.
Oh,
Oh,
you've
funny.
seen every episode already.
Have
Okay.
13 seasons
Yeah, your screen time on social media is, 4 hours yesterday,
per
but
Right.
day times
you didn't have
7
time
days
to,
a week.
And then it always goes down to just wake up earlier. Time did you get up? I didn't have time. Cool. Let's break that down. Pull out a sheet of paper. What time did you get up? 7.
Or even without the getting up earlier, just having a structured schedule throughout the day. Like, if you write down a schedule and it's like during this time block here and this time block here, don't do these things that you're spending 4 or 5 hours a day doing, like scrolling Facebook.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at how much time you can find in a day that you're not actually using.
Whole work day.
Not you, but
Yeah.
I know you're going 25 hours a day.
At least. So yeah, you break it down for people, and then I think once they know, then you've got to kick in some kind of self accountability.
Right.
But people don't realize, people don't want to do that to themselves. They don't want to say, well, I just didn't want to. You could say I didn't want. That's the easiest answer.
And at least it's honest.
Well, everything has layers. The honest answer would be, I didn't want to.
Yep.
Well, why not? Well, because what's the reason? And if it's not a priority and you didn't want to do this or this requirement in business because you wanted to hang out with your kids all weekend long, it's totally fine. But then recognize that that's the reason you didn't meet a goal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to change your priority. The goal, you said, was I want to do this. And I think that's almost anything. My goal is I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, well, 10 pounds is 35,000 calories. So if you're going to lose a pound, you've got to run a 3,500 calorie deficit. It's just numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Why didn't you? Well, the calories don't have excuses.
Yeah.
You either just did it or you didn't.
Right.
You run a deficit. If you
Really want it.
if you
you'll
really
do it.
want to cut 1,250 calories or burn 2,000 working out, you will lose the weight. If you don't, you won't.
Right.
So you either got to adjust your activity can't adjust the goal.
And if you start on a Monday and by Wednesday you're at the drive-thru at Burger King, then you're just already know it's not going to happen.
I was busy and I didn't want to do it because I had other stuff that was more important.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you tell yourself that, then you're like eating this whatever, junk food, this candy bar, this whatever, not working out, sleeping in. And so, yeah, I learned a lot of that. Did Ironman for 10 years.
So that's a lot of dedication and discipline in itself, being able to do that.
Yeah, when I started off in the mortgage business and I wasn't doing SWAT and working out and running all the time and be fit, or you had a reason to be. You had to be in shape. I probably gained 50 pounds and winded going up the stairs.
That sneaks up on you too.
Sneaks up on you.
For me, anytime I've ever gained weight or something, I'll feel it daily, but then it's always that one random photo that someone takes and I look at my picture of myself and I'm like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah, no, that was me. And I have those pictures.
Probably hanging up everywhere.
But I'm winded going up the stairs, and I said, well, I want to get back in shape. Let's call a friend of mine. Let's do like a triathlon or something.
Yeah.
So we found one that was like an hour long or 30 minutes or whatever. Failed it miserably. I almost drowned in the swim. And I was like, okay, so wait a minute. This is serious.
Might need to make a change here.
We got to actually train. So then the next year we're like, all right, we'll do a couple of those triathlons. And I'm like, all right, well, that hurts. I'm just not physically, and people have genetics.
Yes.
My wife, Kate, she has genetics. She just works out. She can, if she spent any amount of time on any particular physical activity, she can be exceptional at it. Running, doesn't matter what it is. I'm the opposite. Like, I have to work twice as hard as anybody, on running, biking, swimming, just to be average. So, but that's fine. That wasn't the point. You can't win at everything. Some of it's about discipline. So anyway, I was like, well, let's do this triathlon. And then we started doing them. And I was like, well, let's do one that's harder. And then we did one that's harder. And then we're like, oh, let's do one that's a little longer and a little longer. And I was like, well, and then they announced Augusta is going to have the largest Ironman event in the world, a half Ironman. So I was like, let's sign up for that. Swim 1.25 miles and bike 56 miles and then run a half marathon. And so I did that a couple of years. And I was like, well, what's harder than that? The full Ironman, swim 2.4 miles and bike 112, which is like from Augusta to Covington.
Right.
Yeah.
Other side of Covington.
Yeah. And then after you finish that at 10 or 11 hours of nonstop physical activity, then you run a marathon at the end. So
Sounds like
Fun.
yeah, after you pedal for 7 hours without stopping, then you run a marathon.
Yeah.
And so I did 2 of those. And
the first one wasn't enough.
the first one wasn't enough. A friend of mine talked me into the second one. So did that for about 10 years. So to punish myself further. During some of the busiest time in my career, I would travel with a bike trainer. And
Now, did you find, though, that activity that you were putting in, training for that, would help relieve the day-to-day stresses of your job? I mean,
oh, yeah.
was that your outlet?
It was intensely stressful. But when you push your body and you say, like, push your body to the limit, like the limit is, you know, when you're talking full Ironman, like the limit is 5 or 6 hours and you're going 10, 12. So you're like double past what your body's limit is. You really don't have room for stress. You can't. I mean, it's physically gone.
Your overall objection and goal right then is just survival.
That's right. So it's the culmination of all the things we talk about, like what is your goal? What do you get up earlier? And eventually you're getting up at 3:30 in the morning and you're doing a 4-hour run.
And then going in and doing desk
and then you're
duty.
starting work at 8 and you're working until 8.
Yeah.
How bad were the leg cramps when you first started?
When I first started, the entire period, the cramping was, so that obsessive type lifestyle probably wasn't super healthy, but an exercise and discipline, what you ate, how often.
Right.
Eat
So
every 2
new
hours.
lifestyle
Yeah.
you transition from SWAT and like that background as a lifestyle to now it's
Right.
like super fit.
Right.
And it's like, okay, this is my new life. How
Yeah.
long is this going to go on?
Yeah. 10 years is how long it lasted.
So while you were doing all of this and, you're carrying it through those years in the mortgage business, at what point did you become kind of like a team lead or, manager or anything like that?
Oh, okay. Good question. So right in the front of my career, when I was ranked number 1 loan officer, just a year in, 2 years after that, a position came up at kind of a state level leadership position, back in 2004.
Okay.
And I got promoted in that. And then, an unknown company on the East Coast called Wells Fargo called me.
Never heard of them.
Back then, people thought it was Armored Car Service, which seems crazy now. It seems crazy that, anyway. So in 2004, I talked to Wells Fargo and didn't know who they were. I mean, I knew they were like a bank, but I'm
Right.
thinking, based out of California and, old stagecoach from the 1850s. And
Well, and that so when they first came here, they bought out First Union. What was it? Bankers First and First Union was around back then.
so they opened the mortgage division in Augusta. I opened it for them in 2004. And then in 2009, they bought Wachovia.
Okay.
So they were looking for an East Coast banking footprint. They had the West Coast. Wachovia was almost the biggest on the East Coast. Wells Fargo was the biggest on the West Coast, mainly from the Mississippi out to California. And so when those two merged, they became the largest bank
Gotcha.
and the largest mortgage company in the nation. So,
It's kind of funny we're talking about this because this story kind of comes full circle that we'll get into in a little while. But you opening that branch for them, at the office that you were at back then. So, but anyway, you got into that. You opened the office for them here, and you started growing a team for them here locally.
yeah, so grew a team for them here locally and became the number 1 mortgage company in maybe 3 years. Inside 3 years, about a little over 30% market share. And some of that was Wells Fargo powered. Back then, they put a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of investment into building mortgage infrastructure and servicing. And I think they're still today one of the largest mortgage servicers in America. So they were doing it, pretty fast back then with what they were investing and how they were building it. So, that's not like single-handedly, but 30% of the mortgages in Augusta were done through the Wells Fargo location.
Gotcha. So 30% of the people that are listening here locally right now that bought a house back then were probably through
That's
you.
correct. That's correct.
That's unreal to think about.
Refinancing. Well, that's a good story. So 04, 05, 06, 07, 30% of the people buying, investing, putting all their cash into real estate, buying investment property, did that through Wells Fargo. 08, 09, 30% of the people not paying, foreclosing, losing their home,
And Wells Fargo is
ruining
still
their-
servicing these loans. They kept them in-house.
serviced all their loans.
Yeah.
So we had 30% of the great boom market. Great.
Yeah.
Then we had 30% of the crash. Those were tough years. I just worked through them.
Right.
I don't think
I bet you ran a lot more miles during those years trying to
had
run
a lot
away
more
from.
time.
Yeah.
Had a lot more time. Still, though, the breadth of business that they had was so big that they still weren't bad years.
Right.
I mean, the mortgage industry and real estate was in shambles. No
Well,
one
and
can
it-
deny it.
Yeah.
And they had the lion's share of it. But
You know, on the flip side of that, one of the things that we've always noticed, and everybody knows this, but, you know, fortunes are made during recessions. And yes, it was a huge hit, and it changed everything. It changed every aspect of buying a home. 2008 did. 2007 leading up to 2008. Changed every aspect of it. But the way the economy bounced back after the fact, once it was restructured, and it was a terrible time, people lost fortunes.
Right.
But since then, you know, it has done nothing but bounce back and
right.
continue to thrive.
I'm excited to hear about the part of the story where you and Kate came together as a team.
Okay. So, well, let me go back to that part. I do want to say, since we're talking about 08 and 09, that having worked through it and having, you know, one of the largest mortgage offices, you know, at Wells Fargo on the East Coast, Augusta, Georgia,
Yeah.
bigger than Atlanta offices, bigger than, and having worked through that and experienced it firsthand, what we're seeing now is, I think, is hugely different. I think that I'm starting to see comparisons of people saying, you know, 08 and the market crash, and that's what we're seeing now. And from my side, it's nothing like what we saw then. And what caused, and I'll talk real quick, what caused that crash was we gave loans, we meaning I actively, I mean, I was told by our company, this is how, if you had a certain credit score and you said you were putting a certain amount of money down, we would take your driver's license and you would sign your loan paperwork, and we got an appraisal and you closed.
Basically just stated income, and I'm
That's
spending
it.
this, and that's it.
You needed a driver's license and a credit score.
No
and that's it.
verifiable documents.
You just told us what you made, and the system approved you, and so people could buy a limitless amount of property with just signatures and driver's license. So what that creates is no ownership. Now, people did have to put a little bit of money down, but people were flipping a house and taking money and putting it down, borrowing the money down. You just had to tell us what you had, and
Right.
you know, we believe you. The system approved you. And so if you took out financial responsibility and lending requirements, how much property would people buy?
Yeah, all of
That's-
it.
that's how much-
all of it.
That's how much they bought. And so then that just churned on itself, because next year the house is worth, $30,000 more. And so you sold that and bought two more, and then you just $30,000 more. And then so there was really no backing. The people behind all these homes weren't really viable.
Right.
The homes in and of themselves were the asset that kept renewing. That hasn't happened since then.
Right.
You have to fully qualify.
Yeah, it's
and you
become a
have
lot
to
more
be-
strict.
Yeah, it's back the way it should be. You have to qualify with tax returns and see your bank statements, and
those
go
are
through a pretty rigorous underwriting process to own a home.
Right.
Now, what we are seeing is homes that sold 3 years ago for $300, and people are now asking $650 for them.
Right.
You know, you sold it last year for $450, and then they sold it for $550, and now you're trying to sell it for $650. That's correcting a little.
It is starting to
it's-
reel back in some for sure. One of the conversations that we have with a lot of people when we're discussing the values and the increases and things like that, and people we run into people here and there. They're like, I'm waiting for the crash and the foreclosures to hit and this, that, and the other. And I personally just don't see a bunch of foreclosures hitting the market for the simple fact the majority of all these people that have bought homes over the past year, they literally had 10 years worth of an equity increase in their home in a year. So there's too much equity out there for these people that have bought.
You could have bought it in January, and you still wouldn't foreclose today. You have enough equity to sell.
Correct.
And if you could walk away from $100,000 and foreclose, or call your agent and sell and make 100,
Right.
Yeah.
which one would you do?
Right.
Well, no one is upside down. So
Right.
if you're not upside down, you're never getting foreclosed on.
Right. There's
If
just
you
too
have
much
a paid
equity.
for a car, never going to be repossessed.
Yep.
You have equity.
And that's just what we keep explaining to people over and over. It's like, well, you can continue to wait for the crash. And in the meantime, all of these people that, some of you are labeling as crazy that are buying with the way the rates have been increased and the increase in values of homes, they've just continued to keep going up.
And people that are waiting on the rates to go down to buy, I think we just got to talk about the message of rates are always temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at Google anything. Google mortgage rates in the last 10 years. Don't go to my website. Just Google it.
Right.
Every trend is up and down every single year.
Yeah.
Now, if you Googled home prices in the last 5 years, there's no up or down. So you could wait on the rate to be back at 4% next spring, if it is. But the house is $40,000 more.
Right.
So you marry.
So you didn't get 5%. I hate that saying. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a meme.
The rate is temporary. The house is only going up in value.
Right. You could always refinance later after it drops a couple of points, but at least you're locked in at a purchase price that should, by all means, we're not going to see a huge pullback, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but
How confident are you that the rates are going to go back down from 0 to 100%?
they're always going to go back down.
100%.
They're 100%
How
going to go
confident
back down.
are you that home prices will be cheaper this time next year? 0%.
Yeah.
0%.
They're not.
So
I think we're going to go
if-
sideways
if
and then
we're at those-
get back on
We
our
will go-
normal projection of,
Yeah, if the house is 300 today, it won't be worth 400 in the spring.
No.
Right.
It's only going to be worth 325.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you got an extra $25,000 there.
That's right. But people are going to wait on the rate to go down, and they're going to pay
Yeah, and
5
in
or
the
8%
interim,
more for the house.
they're steadily waiting, and the rates in the short term, we don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they could go up a point or down a point on a week-to-week basis.
That's right.
Just refinance later.
Yeah, just get into something now, because it's just like taxes. Taxes are never going to get cheaper; they're always going to go up.
Always
So-
going to go up.
If you're looking at it from the standpoint of 10 years from now, then it's not going to matter no matter what. I don't see any of these homes going backwards unless you're in an area like Detroit or something like that when they went through their crisis and everything just kind of collapsed.
Right. You're going to be paying someone's mortgage.
Right. No matter what. If you're renting, you're paying for someone else to get rich.
Someone's mortgage. So, the Kate question.
Yes.
What do you want to know?
When did Jason and Kate join as a team
Oh,
in the
okay.
mortgage
Good
industry?
question.
And then
Well, first off, did you meet through work or?
Yes.
Okay.
So after, I guess maybe 10 years with Wells Fargo, I got promoted to a statewide position. So I was in charge of the mortgage branches outside of Atlanta. So kind of like rural Georgia. Savannah was included in that. And Kate lived in Savannah at the time. So Kate had just transitioned out of retail mortgage into private banking. So she dealt with wealth clients. She did mortgages, but she was with a division of the bank itself. So if you had a wealth relationship with the bank, they introduced you through the banker who did your checking and savings and managed your money and your investments and your financial planning. She was on that team of services through mortgage. And then I was running kind of the branch level, like the bank branch, they would just refer you mortgages, and then the mortgage branches outside of Atlanta. So she had just transitioned literally the month that I took over. And then so a few months later, I had met her, and I was like, oh, you know, I heard you transferred over, and we had talked, and she kind of knew who I was, and I obviously knew who she was. And we met at a work event, and then that
Just kind of hit it off from the beginning.
That's awesome.
The rest is history. So, yeah.
Now, did she end up staying in Savannah working for?
So she
quite a
stayed in
while after
Savannah
that?
for a little bit, and I was traveling back and forth from Augusta, and then had some opportunities to build kind of a from scratch mortgage division and open a few branches for a company already in the Southeast. And so when I was looking at those opportunities, you know, we were dating and hadn't even talked about getting married at that point. And I said, hey, what are your thoughts on, I mean, she's obviously a pretty good loan officer. And I've been in management for some time. So I was like, hey, I'm thinking about building something, you know, you want to help me build it? She said, of course.
Awesome.
And so it really has been an experience. And it's not easy. It's not easy when you don't, you know, when you know how someone is, and I have a great deal of respect for her work ethic and everything. She doesn't know how I operate, really, and I didn't know how she operates. And so we do things a little differently. I am a little more cut and dry. Actually, I'm a little more ritualistic as far as, like, as you probably can tell, I'm listening to this for 30 seconds, you know, systems and follow-up and, you know, kind of the hard aspect of selling. And she cares more about people's relationship and nurturing them and how they feel about their home. And so it's the perfect combination for us.
I think that right there is kind of the reason why the four of us kind of got along so good from the very beginning, was because it was just so similar. Like, me and you have a lot of the same personality traits, and Kate and Bonnie are so much alike when it comes to that side of things.
Yeah. Like 20 minutes on the phone, I think I've gotten a good amount of data.
Right.
She's just getting to, you know,
How's your baby? Your grandkids?
I mean, and I want to be more like that.
Right.
I really do.
I'm a work in progress still.
Yeah, I'm a work in progress. But we've gotten to the point now where, you know, people text us separately and we literally give the same answer.
Yeah.
As far as like exact numbers on this and what should I do, and then they text me and then they'll text her and then we'll talk. And I was like, well, I told them, and she's like, I told them.
But they value both your opinions.
Well, the husband will text me,
Right.
and then the wife will text her because they have a question about, you know, and so it is really easy now because we know what the other one, literally finish each other's sentences. It really is a blessing too. I told her the other night, it never seems like a day at work. I mean, I could work with her. I mean, we don't, but I could, because it takes her too long to get ready in the morning. Like, I could drive her to work almost in the same office like this, which we don't. Go to dinner at 5 o'clock after work and drive her home, and I still would want to spend time with her.
Yeah.
So luckily we have, for her, probably we're on different schedules, and I leave a little sooner, and she can do what she wants to do.
Has her morning routine, you have yours.
Well, she gets up really, really early. She knocks out a workout in the morning, but then, you know, how women are, they take a little long to get ready because they're answering their phone.
Well, I mean,
And when they answer their phone for a customer, it's like, I have a customer call, like they can wait because I'm going to be in the car at 8:15.
right.
Yeah.
Well, she takes it at 8:15 and then gets another one, then gets another one, and then
That
gets another
sounds
one.
like someone else I know.
And so she's on the phone until
That's my excuse
10.
for my hair never being done.
And so she doesn't get a break from the phone calls to, anyway. But
So, and then you were together with that first company for a good many years, right?
yeah.
And then you decided
you
to go
guys-
through another transition.
Well, you
Yeah.
guys grew that company
Yeah.
be
to
massive.
what extent?
Yeah. That's probably alternating probably first and second and third in Augusta
Yeah.
in 4 years.
Gotcha.
And so the market's shifting. The mortgage market is like, everything else in the real estate and finance world. It shifts quick, and companies' priorities and their focus shifts. And, we kind of have to stay tuned in to what capabilities are with rates and products and service. Technology is a big one. Companies have to stay cutting edge right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if your systems are old and archaic and they don't work and customers can't consent online and sign documents and upload stuff easily, I think people will find a way to do that with a different company.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of people, a lot of these larger companies that are used to doing things a certain way for so long, they forget that the people that are coming now to buy a house as opposed to 10 years ago, well, those 12-year-olds are now buying houses from when they started a company. So
they don't want to talk on the phone.
They don't want to talk on the phone. They want to text. They want instant gratification. They want to, communicate through email, if that, and then just send you text messages and everything else.
Right. They want to upload their bank statement from their phone.
Right. So we're
half
dealing
my
with
customers I don't think have a laptop.
right.
Like a computer. Like nobody even says a computer anymore. Because if you're not in like hardcore business, what do you?
Yeah,
what do
you can
use a
do everything
computer
from your
for?
phone.
Do everything from your phone. So people are like, "Oh, I have to get to my computer." Well,
Yeah.
you're old when you hear that.
Yeah.
When people say it.
We had one of our agents this morning, and he sends a message. He's like, "Hey, do we have a fax machine?" And our office assistant was like, "No, it's not 1995. We don't have a fax machine."
There's a reason we don't. What's the reason?
Right.
It's 2022. That's
Right.
the reason.
That's it.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
So
But yeah, I think the ability to do both. I love to meet with customers. I love to hear their story. I love to handwrite an application. I think people want to have an ability to talk if that's what they want. And then I
Yes.
think some younger people are like, I actually don't want to physically communicate with anyone.
Right.
Yes.
I want all communication to be digital because that's what they're comfortable with.
And
But
social media has kind of done that to everyone. Like most people now, the current generation, they're desensitized from human interaction because they do all of it through their phone.
That's right.
Everything's texting. Everything is messaging. Everything's photos. That's
Well,
it.
Not only that, time efficiency.
Yeah.
It just takes so much. Everybody's putting more in their day than they used to.
Yeah, but
and
you
they
can
don't have to
carry.
commute. You don't have to be in
right.
person. Or
Yeah, you
wait
can be
on
face to
somebody.
face with someone at a screen on your phone and carry on a corporate conversation. A corporate meeting.
Yeah.
Well, people are also deciding whether they want to do business with you while you're asleep.
Right.
Yeah.
They're stalking your stuff.
Yep.
Yes.
Everything you put out there is a reflection of you.
People have things they haven't updated in
Years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
People
you
have
mean
a
like
bio that says nothing.
Yeah.
you mean like the realtor headshots?
Yeah, realtor headshots. Wow. Touching on some feelings now. Got some people mad.
I know
now.
there's going to be a couple of people. They might tune in
Well,
though.
I even do it because I still haven't updated mine. And I'm like, I know I don't look quite the same. I weigh a little more now.
I'm not touching that one.
Girls are not finding any pictures they like anyway. So
No matter what.
You can have 100, and they're still not going to be a good one.
Right.
So,
It's like what?
actually, when you go out, when Kate and I go out, God, I love her. The evening doesn't even count. Like, it doesn't even count as going out or having dinner unless there's at least 2 pictures that she likes and approves of.
Yeah.
I mean, we could take a few, but we might as well just order in Mexican or not eat at all or get a sandwich if we're not taking pictures. And
Yep.
Celebrating life.
If it didn't go on social media of some sort, did it even really happen?
yeah, no, we got to have
Documenting.
some pictures.
It's like having a digital photo album.
All right. So somewhere in all of that, you picked up a blacksmithing hobby.
Yeah.
How
wow.
long have you been doing that?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, blacksmithing, kind of bladesmithing, making knives and swords and axes. I have no idea. It dropped out of the sky. I've always loved that stuff. A lot of men do. People call me. They're like, "Oh,
I shape metal.
I saw you on Netflix. I'm fascinated. Can I just call your phone? And I was like, sure. And they're like, man, it's just, and they rant and rave. Cause
And
some people are made
look,
that way.
thinking about that, you just mentioned a Netflix. You were on a Netflix show, but the thing with that is when you're, all the things that you were doing leading up to this point back then, could you ever imagined you would have been having like showcasing a hobby on Netflix?
No chance.
Not a hobby.
No chance at all.
How about his life's work, but it was a hobby.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. It's super random. I mean, I think the direction of our lives is totally not in our hands because no one would have ever guessed. And I actually did it. I love some veterans groups, and I think we could all do more.
We're good.
And I think we could all do more. And so the whole purpose of going on like Forged in Fire was to like win the money to donate to like some veterans organizations to help them. So that was kind of the driving force of it. But yeah, like 4 years ago, I just went out in my garage. There was a guy local that would let you go and take a railroad spike and hammer it into some kind of random knife. And I know him to this day, great guy. And I said, well, shoot, if he can do it like out of a little garage on the side of his house, I could do it at my house. And so I just started buying stuff, just learning. There's something to be said for fabricating and just fixing things and making them if you want them.
Especially like you're essentially making it out of nothing, just raw materials and shaping them into something useful.
I've made Bowie knives out of old rusty motorcycle chain I found on the ground in the back of the farm and a tractor part.
And you're making Damascus blades and things like that too. So that's hard work.
My mentality has got to be we should do everything and make it harder than it should be. So I take basic things, and when I got maybe adequate at it, how do we make it harder and harder?
Let's add 200 layers.
200. Well, if we did 200, I mean, then
how much further can we take this?
How do we go to 1,000? If we go to 1,000, I mean, so that's probably my curse. Is nothing's ever good enough for myself.
Right. So it led to Netflix, but also at some point you co-authored or authored a book.
Yeah, I've done a lot of mortgage coaching, and we talked about it a little bit ago. Like that's really the part. Okay, so that I was doing a lot of coaching at the time, and we talked about that. That's really one of my passions is the coaching part, the mentor, the training new people. And so I was working with a group of guys, and they said, and I was writing a book at the time when I had kind of a lot of the scripting out and a lot of the chapters done. And they said, oh, well, you're working on a book. Let's, a couple of guys come together. And, so when we met with the publisher, I just started giving him chapters. And he's like, well, I just started giving him kind of everything that I had kind of set for my book. And he put all the best ones together from the people that he found. And, I guess when it hit, it went to Amazon, and I guess it had the bestseller ranking. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So a bunch of good guys. It's on pretty boring mortgage sales, but I guess it did well.
What's the name of the book?
Mortgage Storm.
Mortgage Storm.
Yeah.
Okay.
They must. I think they're holding the checks. I think when they sell a few books, they must hold the checks for 5 years or something.
Not seeing anything like that?
No, they haven't.
Gotcha.
I don't.
Well,
so anybody that hears like, oh, you did a book, like that, don't ever think
that you're getting rich off of it.
No, I actually either they have my old address because they've never. I know they sold some, and I got a few.
Well, for anyone in the mortgage business or wants to see kind of the behind the scenes, what goes along with it, we'll find it and we'll kind of link it down below in the description.
Okay, good stuff.
See if we can't get you an extra 30 cents next year.
I'm waiting on the first 30 cents. So stop by my office, I'll give you a copy.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So now you're with a new company.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of have taken over the area by storm over the past, year?
Yeah, we're
Coming
coming
up on
on
a
pretty
year?
strong. Yeah. No, I like it a lot.
One thing I wanted to kind of circle back around from what we were talking about earlier with Wells Fargo and you opening that branch here. Tell us about where you're at now.
Same exact location. It's like a business boomerang, maybe. The same office, the same spot I sat in 2004 when I opened that for Wells Fargo. We've come around full circle. I've sat there, gosh, over 10 years. So in that office was available, with this new startup company just in Augusta. They're pretty big, nationwide already, privately owned. So the capabilities are pretty exciting. I think opportunities, people are just get stuck in a rut, and I probably by listening to, again, 2 minutes of this, you can tell I'm probably not one of those people, but you got to grab opportunities that you feel are right. Not everything is right for you, but if capabilities, for you to serve more people and help your community more come along, people should grab them. They're more work. They're way more work.
Yeah.
Building this office, man, this place it's freaking awesome in here. I mean, every detail looks, but isn't that a lot of work? I mean,
Yes.
you could have just stayed. You could do the status quo. You don't have to do all this. But
I could have put one camera up and we could have had a conversation and
half a coat of paint.
Could
But
have saved a lot of money, spent less,
kind of like you.
got more sleep.
Kate and Bonnie could have saved a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm over here like, hey,
we need
to order
more.
this, and we need this and this and this because it supports this. And she's
Exactly.
like, where's the end of this? I was like, well, you see this catalog that just keeps going all the way down to the floor?
That's the end.
I need pretty much all of it.
But he's good at being prepared, so
Yeah.
we didn't launch
Sometimes
until,
over prepared.
Yeah, we didn't launch until he understood every single moving part,
Yeah.
so that it
If you
saved
want this
time
wall
in the
painted,
long run. Yep.
Do what I did, which is what you did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paint it
We
yourself.
You go
we
get a
opened this
brush.
office, and when they gave me a quote of $12,000 to paint the office, I was like, well, I guess everybody else is going to get a crash course in painting with me because we're
right.
about to do this whole office.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. No, it's the same thing. Exactly the same.
what's your goals for the new company? If you had your Post-it note in front of you, what would be your goal? Because you are the top guy.
Yeah, I
Now that I put it that way, it's oh man.
No. And I am. It sounds. I hate the way it sounds, but it is what it is. It's facts. I am like number one lender. Zillow has had me ranked number one in Augusta for almost 5 years. With more reviews, more 5-star reviews than like number 2 and 3 combined. Maybe number 2, 3, and 4 combined. I think my goals have kind of shifted. Kate and I want to help as many people as possible. Shifted a little more towards education. Now we do knock out some mortgages, and we love it. It's both in our blood.
But you've obviously been blessed with all of this and seen great success with it. So now you're at a point to where you want to be able to give that to other people that are where you were 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I still really enjoy training people, hiring, mentoring, but home ownership is getting complicated. I want to try to keep it as simple for people as possible. I think people should expect more. I think in the digital age, as everything moves to, technology that doesn't involve relationship, I think people should expect more, especially when you're making the largest purchase. I think agents should expect more from a lender. I think they've got a big impact. They've got some things they should do better, and making their customer experience world-class, I think, should rank number one.
Yeah.
So kind of what I want to accomplish is continue to do an experience that's better than anyone. And people will say, and you can't argue with some digital stuff, I want to go online and just do a mortgage and let it close. And those people won't change, and that's all. That's just how it is. But so many people want a relationship with somebody they feel like is going to take care of them. And that's what we spent a lot of years trying to perfect, and we haven't, because it always, one of the things I asked my team, I asked them two things. What's something that we could do better that costs money? I mean, hypothetically, you could, buy everyone a washer and dryer, whatever it is.
Right.
So and we talk about what they are. What's something we could do better for clients and create the experience that costs money? Okay, now what's one thing we could do to increase the customer experience and make them feel better, and that's free?
Right.
And sometimes it takes a minute. What can we do for free? And I think it all goes back to building a better relationship. That's what I want when I do business.
And honestly, I think that's what's missing in a lot of businesses nowadays anyway, because some of them get so hyper-focused on the digital world that they forget about the physical world.
Not everybody wants a self-checkout.
Right.
Not everybody wants to scan their groceries.
Yeah. I want my paycheck if I'm scanning my own groceries.
I know I'm old. I know I'm old. I get it. I want a person to check me out.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to hand them I don't want to do self-checkout.
We had to learn people skills when we were younger for a reason. I want to continue to use those.
Yeah, and I think COVID definitely fast-forwarded us to that being a requirement. Not only the norm, but if you want to have physical contact, you're not allowed. So it almost, became a legal requirement to be that way, to do business.
Right.
And I don't know why it's taking so long for it to rotate back where it should.
Right.
Now, some things should, you don't need a lot of contact for, and I'm glad those things happened. But I think people want to feel a certain way, and I think they're valuable. Great customers are not easy to find.
Right.
So I think they deserve more, and that's what I want to give them.
Gotcha. Well, that's all. Are there any other questions that you have, Bonnie, for Jason while he's here?
No, I just think he's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why we've chose to, have you be a part of our life, our business, and everything else. And everyone we've ever dealt with that we have sent your way for anything, they've always had great things to say. We've never had a complaint from any of them. So whatever you're doing, it's working. Keep doing it.
We appreciate you a bunch. Thanks for your support. And I can't get over. I do have a question. When do you think you'll get to the point where you've spent enough on cameras? Are you close, or you feel like it's not as far away, or you feel close?
I think I'm probably at the 6% mark.
Oh, you got a lot more to go.
Yeah, I got a long way to go. So one thing that I've learned about all of this is once you really get into it and you start to learn, what you need or how you want things to look and what you need in order to accomplish that.
Never have it.
Yeah, it's endless. And, these are some really nice cameras. But next year, there's going to be something so much nicer that comes out. And
Technology always.
Now, I will say my mics I'm very proud of.
Yes, you are.
These mics, they've been an industry staple forever. I mean, Michael Jackson recorded bad on this microphone.
Really?
So
Not this one.
Not this one, but like this model.
This model brand.
Yeah. So they've been kind of an industry standard. So I am proud of my mics. But yeah, I don't think it's all her fault. I mean, she got me started on it years ago. She showed up with dual monitors for a computer, and I'm like, wait, you have
Being
two?
more, just more efficient with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's become
And you could
kind
do
of...
this and this and this if you had this and that, and then I want a media company, and I want it to be integrated with this, and then he's like, okay, I'll go do it.
Yep. So, yeah, I think it'll just keep going. Well, Jason, I definitely appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks a bunch. No, that's a great experience.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do it again. We'll get Kate on here with we'll have the four of us and
sounds good.
Definitely do it again.
All right. Thank y'all a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining in. I'll have a link below to Jason's book and any other information that he has involving financing and things like that if you are in the local area looking for a mortgage.
Or in the Southeast.
Or wherever he can take care of
Sounds
you.